Welcome to episode number 2 of This is FetLife, featuring interviews with new FetLife influencers every single week. I'm your host, Brian Hunkhands Crabtree, and this week we're talking with Queen Cobra. We met out during a typhoon in Manila right before the King Carnival 2018, which actually got canceled. That's how bad the typhoon was. We met up in the cigar room of this old classy hotel called the Peninsula Hotel, but unfortunately it was loud as fuck, so we had to go out to the pool during the typhoon to record this. Luckily, it wasn't that windy, but it was raining a little bit. We did it for you guys. I hope you enjoyed the talk. You're about to hear how Queen Cobra was involved in pet play as a preteen and why she still loves it, how she wants to help battered men, truly battered men, her approach to growing and living her personal kinky brand, and why Asian femdoms get all the subs. If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to subscribe, like, follow, and leave a comment on the FetLife Journal page to keep the conversation going. Brian Hunkhands Crabtree here, and I'm with...
Hello, this is Queen Cobra from Southeast Asia.
All right, cool. And we're at the Peninsula Hotel here in Manila. We're probably going to get kicked out of the poolside area in a bit. But we wanted to talk for as long as we can about... Well, I wanted to ask you about, I mean, so many things, because you're a model, like professionally, so that's your thing.
Yep, that's right.
I think it's so interesting when people, become something professionally, it changes their mindset, and they just look at it differently, right? So that's really interesting. And then you're also a dom.
I am a lifestyle dom. I do not do the domination for money. I am not a pro dom. It's just the way I live my life. It's the way I have my relationships. It's the way I interact with people, and it's just the way I am.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So female doms, pro, not pro, whatever, just girls who are more like bosses. In the kink community, that seems to be pretty common, actually.
I think it's common in and out of the kink community, just that some people are not exposed to the lifestyle. A lot of people in Southeast Asia, at least, have absolutely no idea what BDSM is. A lot of people are just not exposed to the lifestyle. And I believe that dominant traits are also very suppressed in the Asian community in general. So there are a lot of girls who do have that natural tendency, but they just have been suppressed and they have been made to feel perhaps ashamed of being dominant or being outspoken.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the biggest issues we have out here in Southeast Asia. So I wouldn't say that... I'd say, yeah, it's common, and it could probably be more common if more people knew about it.
Gotcha. It seems like kind of a reversal of the West, where in the West, if a lady is more feminine, in some circles, that's sort of frowned upon. Because it's like you gotta step up. You gotta lean forward. Like that's sort of the general sort of like the narrative, sort of the politically correct thing is like, be more masculine, like. But here it's the opposite. It's more,
you're
encouraged to be feminine.
That's true, but also in the recent years, there has been a lot more empowerment and there's been a lot more awareness. So the typical submissive Asian girl stigma is going away. So we've got lots of very strong-minded and opinionated and dominant Asian women, and especially if you look on FetLife, it's become quite a bit of a fetish, the Asian dom fetish. So it's not just people get very turned on by the stereotype of, okay, she's a harmless little Asian girl, but shit, she's gonna kick the fuck out of you.
Yeah.
So I guess people do get very turned on by that. Yeah. And also the other typical how do I say this stereotype of like Asian dom versus big white man. It looks, you assume that the white man is the superior one, but no, he's getting the shit kicked out of him by this little Asian dom. So I think a lot of people get off on that power trip, that power exchange.
What do you think that's about? Like, because I definitely, like, when I think of, like, the stereotypical Asian girl, it's like a little bit softer, a little bit, like, more soft-spoken. But then you think of, like, a really dominant girl. And for some reason, like, you think of a dominant Asian gal, you think of her, like, really fucking strict. You know, like I don't know why that is. Like,
well, I think if you also look at other Asian stereotypes, a lot of us in Southeast Asia, and I mean, for me, I come from a very conservative, very typical Chinese family. And the stereotype of the Chinese tiger mom or strict Chinese upbringing, where we still use corporal punishment as discipline, is very true. So that's the way we grew up. It's in our blood. The strict corporal punishment and the no nonsense tiger mom persona. That's very, very much part of us. And also, I think it is very humiliating being a big, strong white man and being reduced to tears by this little, small, cute Asian girl. I think that just adds to the humiliation. And for a lot of people as well, it's all about the power exchange. Like, I'm relinquishing this power to this woman, to this girl who, and I'm allowing her to kick the shit out of me.
Awesome. So are you okay to talk about age, like how old you are, or no? Is that?
I'm 28.
28. Okay. I'm 34. Just why not? So how did you get into kink? Like, what was your story? Were you like 5 years old and you're tying up your brother?
Oh, not very different from that, actually.
Yeah. Late bloomer.
I probably was more aware. I was more aware of kink from a very young age, before I even knew what it was and before I even knew what sexuality was. I remember being very young and I'd be fantasizing about strange predicaments, like medical predicaments, or like doing medical procedures on other people or performing experiments on animals. And I used to fantasize about that and touch myself.
Interesting.
So, and
but
at
like
that
for
age,
example, like when in science class where you have to dissect the frog.
No, before that. I mean, so let's say the age of 5, I was fantasizing about medical predicaments. And
what's an example of one? Like I'm kind of like a newbie to all this.
Well, this might not go down very well, but I would be.
Yeah.
You're
5 years old, so it's okay.
Yeah, I would be fantasizing about, say, torturing a cat.
Yeah.
Or cutting open an animal.
Okay.
So strange, really weird predicaments like that.
Yeah, not something you can go tell mommy about, right? Like you can't talk to your parents about that.
Yeah, but I guess after a while that went away and it was replaced by other things like performing experiments on people. And as I got older, I also started becoming very obsessed about pets and things like that, but not in a very sexual way. I used to role play a lot with my brother as a child, and we'd always be like, my brother would always be sort of like my pet.
Okay.
And I would be an owner or a hunter or, someone in a more dominant position. And I'm sure my parents remember this, but they probably thought, oh, right, she's the bigger sister and he's, little brother. So, it's normal to play that way. And when we were kids, I mean, we just don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that was probably where the first roots came from.
That's so interesting that like it really goes deep, where it's like some people are like, you can look at a kid who's like, 4 years old and you're like, oh, that kid's gay, like for sure.
Yeah, you just kind of know. And for a long time, you just didn't really think about it until I was a fashion model first. And I did my first ever fetish shoot by accident in about 2008. And it was a latex shoot. And I had no idea at that time what the fetish community was. I had no idea what fetish was. And I remember idolizing pictures of women dressed in leathers and corsets, the typical dominatrix look.
Yeah.
So I was really thrilled to do something like that. And when I did my first shoot, I felt, wow, this is me. This is where I'm really at home. And this is what I want to do. I don't want to do fashion anymore. I don't want to do vanilla modeling. This is what I want to do. So that kind of opened the doors for me. And it, started doing research, starting getting to know that there is a community out there of kinksters that do BDSM and do this as a lifestyle, And that was when I realized this is who I was as well.
Yeah. So you were 18 at that point, right?
Probably, yeah, 18, 19.
And so the internet, internet was a thing, but like FetLife, was that a thing or no? 10 years ago?
No. I only started getting on FetLife maybe 5 years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of my early days were just experimenting with like, first boyfriends and just going, hey, want to try this? Want to, do a bit of spanking, do a bit of, I think that looks cool. You want to try that? So lots of messing around. And
how did you know that like the latex was like a thing and it was part of a community? Like how did you discover that, as opposed to just like, oh, some photos are like this. It's like, oh, this is part of a deeper thing.
Well, you know how the internet's like. You click on something and you click on another thing and you're like, oh, wait, we're in the weird part of the internet right now. And you go, wait a minute, what is this? And you go deeper and deeper and you kind of go, oh, wow, okay. There are people like me out here and let's check it out. Let's see what it's about.
Were there any resources at the beginning that really sort of hooked you and you're like, just devour them or something like that?
No. If I'm honest, FetLife has been the biggest help of all. So I figured out that I was kinky when I was about 18, 19 and started experimenting. But it wasn't really until I met people in the community and started mentoring with people who have been involved in the community for much longer, people that were much older than I am and much more experienced. And that was where I really started to discover myself. And
how many mentors did you have like that? Were they usually like people like play partners or just people you meet at like munches or things like that? Or?
Just people that you meet and just people you talk to and chat with. And sometimes you meet someone you get a good connection with and you go, hey, I really want to learn this from you. Like I hang out with a lot of pro-doms because this is what they do all the time.
Yeah.
And they are probably the most competent people to learn from, especially pro-doms that are really passionate about their work. So yeah, I mean, they do this thousands of times, day in, day out, and they have the responsibility to keep their clients safe. So these are the best people to mentor with, even though I have absolutely no intention of charging or doing this as a service or doing this as a career. It's obviously in the best interest to keep my partner safe. So yeah.
So just learn from people who are doing it as professionally as possible.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So I'm still trying to piece together your story. So you were 18, you started, so you were just modeling. You wanted to be a model. You wanted to be like, the America's Next Top Model, whatever, Asia's Next Top Model, like that was kind of your thing?
Not really. I actually really hated fashion modeling.
Okay.
With a vengeance. I did it out of spite because people said, no, you can't do it. So, okay, yeah, I'm going to do it. So I tend to do stuff like that. You tell me I can't do it. Oh, hell yeah, I'm going to do it. So that's how I got my first modeling contract. But I was really depressed as a model. I hated going out for shoots. And then I discovered fetish modeling and latex modeling and fell completely in love with it. So I was doing a mix of both at first. And eventually I transitioned 100% to doing fetish modeling. So I'd only pick assignments that involved modeling as a dominatrix or in leather or in latex or that sort of vibe. I also worked as a personal trainer for a while. I worked as a powerlifting coach. So that also, I'm naturally more comfortable with men. I'm naturally more, I'm less self-conscious. So I do have more male friends than female friends. And I think that also gives me quite a bit of an edge as an educator right now. I also do workshops and I'm a kink educator. I counsel some male submissives who have been in abusive relationships or have been victims of domestic violence. Okay. So I think all of that
like abusive,
ties together.
Abusive in bad ways, not abusive in like
yes, in non-consensual ways.
Non-consensual.
Like submissive men who are in relationships with genuinely cruel and psychopathic partners who are coming out of that and who are recognizing their signs of trauma and signs of abuse and neglect. So I mentor and counsel men like that because I realized that there is this huge gap where there's so much support for women who are victims of domestic violence and abuse.
Yeah. Safe houses and stuff.
Yeah, but there is this huge gap where, abused husbands and abused boyfriends, who do they really go to?
Yeah.
And they do exist. There are battered men who do not have a voice because they're afraid of being laughed at. And people just don't take them seriously.
Yeah. Yeah, I was married before for 3 years, and my
Right.
ex-wife was not the most stable person, but like a couple times, like went to the office with like a bandage on my face because she
Oh,
scratched me and
right.
shit, and was like, to make up stories and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I think it's even worse for submissive men as well, because especially men who get turned on by the stereotype of the cruel, cold dom.
Yeah.
So they fall in love with genuinely cruel vanilla women, thinking, oh my God, she's going to be the perfect dominatrix.
Right.
She's going to be cruel and mean, and oh, it's going to be such a turn on. But then you realize you can't live with that stereotype. You can't live with that personality long term, 24/7. It's insane. So that's the gap I'm trying to bridge as well. To reach out to these people and to make them feel more aware that you have a safe space.
Yeah.
And this is also why I tend to push Fat Life a little bit, like, hey, if you're looking for a dominant woman, you're looking for a lifestyle femdom to have a relationship with, please do not go to the vanilla bars. Please come on Fat Life and look for the real ones.
It's a good idea.
Please come out to a munch. Please come out and speak to real female doms that
Yeah.
are not psychopaths. Yeah, so
Or they might be, but they're nice
might be,
psychopaths.
but- no, consensual psychopaths.
Yeah, yeah. It's like if you're on the operating table and like your artery bursts and the surgeon's standing there, you want him to be a psychopath, but somebody who just like emotions, no, not doing that, just like this, 1, 2, 3, It's like in business, psychopaths are generally like sort of rewarded because they just like
Yeah, I guess.
cruelly,
Yeah, ruthless.
ruthless,
Yeah. But again, I think, in my personal opinion, not the best partner.
Yeah,
to
no, I totally
be-
agree.
yeah.
But
Because-
it must be hard for like you working with the guys though, because you're like, don't look for this type of person. Like I understand you have a kink and you like the cruel girls, but look for the right kind of cruel girls. And then like a month later, they're probably in a relationship with just some crazy person. Does that happen? It's got to happen sometimes.
Well,
It's got to be like a
it
relapse
happens
kind of thing.
sometimes, yeah. But then again, I'm not mom.
Yeah.
I'm not standing over them all the time and going, no, you do not date that girl because she's bad for you. She's
Yeah.
psycho. I can't do that. And at the end of the day, we're all adults. I'm a safe space that you can come and talk to me. You can come and speak to me. You can come and share whatever you want. You can talk to me and I won't judge you.
Yeah. And get a good reference. Right?
Yeah. But,
Like,
I'm not,
so you can see a different way of,
yeah,
like you can see a different type of girl.
yeah.
If you've only been around the psychos, you can be like, oh, okay, this girl, she can turn it on and off.
Yeah, so I don't hover over people going, no, she's bad for you, don't date her. We're all adults and we all make our own decisions. So if somebody wants to go back to that pattern, then, well, that's your problem. I can't
Yeah.
drag you out of that over and over again.
What kind of advice do you give to people when they're looking at, relationships and like for a guy if he's looking for a dom?
Well,
What's differentiates the psychopaths and the the girls who are good to be in a relationship with?
there's no easy answer to that, but I'll tell you that the best thing that you can do, the most important thing going into a relationship, vanilla or kinky, is to communicate. Loads of people, you take the woman to bed too soon, you start playing too soon, you start fooling around and you fall in love and you get emotionally involved, and then you're sort of stuck because you're emotionally involved. But I always feel it's so important to talk to the person, get to know the person, spend a lot of time communicating and negotiating before you commit to something. And I think for a lot of players in BDSM, this is why it's great to be part of a real community, because the number one rule in any BDSM arrangement is communication and negotiation. So you get to know a person really well. What are your hard limits? What are your soft limits? What are your turn-ons? So a lot of people don't talk about this in regular vanilla dating.
Yeah, it's sort of like regular relationships. You have the marriage vows, and
Yeah.
they're just sort of like generally accepted vows, but no one ever really reads them. And it's just
Yeah.
sort of like this loose sort of contract that people just sign on the dotted line
Yeah,
for.
so I love
Same
you
thing
till-
in
yeah,
the power
till the
dynamic,
two-
I guess.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like, yeah, this is how we communicate, I guess. But like no one ever really clarifies stuff.
No, it's like, for example, if I were to compare it with a vanilla couple, I'm not saying that vanilla relationships are inferior, but
But
in
they are.
BDSM, no,
I'm just kidding.
Look, in BDSM, like it's so easy for us to come out and say, "Hey, I like you. I'd like you to, I really like being put over your knee and getting a good spanking, or I really get turned on when I'm whipped, but I do not want any sort of anal stimulation." For example, it's so easy
Yeah.
to talk about this, whereas I meet vanilla couples that are like, "Oh, how do I tell my girlfriend that I want her to put a finger up my ass?"
Yeah.
That's so difficult.
Yeah. It's
And-
like 10 words, the words you just said.
Yeah.
Just
and
say
you kind
those.
of look at it as like, why don't you just go speak to her?
Yeah.
Or sometimes I get people that come and tell me, I wish my girlfriend was more dominant and more assertive. I wish she would take control in bed. It's like, you just said it to me. Why don't you go say it to her? Why? Oh, I don't understand why is it so difficult. And then they're like, oh no, she's gonna get mad. She's gonna think I'm weird. She's gonna think I'm, But in the BDSM community, it's sort of, it's non-judgmental. It's all inclusive. It's no one's gonna point at you and go, "You're a fucking pervert."
Yeah.
Hell, we're all perverts. So, nah. It's just a matter of your king's not my king, but that's okay.
That's definitely an advantage.
Yeah.
Just sort of there's a communication framework, sort of that you can just copy paste it into your the way you talk to people.
Yeah.
Where if you're just with a girlfriend or whatever, it's just sort of like, how do you talk about this stuff? So let's talk about the pro versus amateur thing, like, because like when I first started doing massages, like the very very first professional massage that I gave, where I like charged somebody money, like it was I was in a very different mindset, like I was like, all right, well, like this girl paid me, so like I gotta make her come. I gotta, like, she's not coming. I gotta figure out a different way. And I was like inventing new sort of hand techniques as I went, because like what I would normally do just wasn't working. So I was like, all right, well, I'm not just gonna give up, right? If you're with a girlfriend, something's not working, you just be like, well, she probably just wants me to fuck her like by now anyway. So just like, this was like a client. So, just like I was inventing new ways of doing things, and really just changed how I approached the entire thing. So like,
Right.
so just being like, because you're not a pro dom, but you are like a pro model, right? You're like a model.
Professional model, yes.
So like, when people post stuff on FetLife, it's just sort of a hobby, something like that. But for you, it is like your profession, and you have a brand that you're putting out there, and you have a certain way you want to come across.
Yep.
Same thing as me. I totally get it.
Yeah.
How does, I don't know. It's a very big question, but like, how do you, was there a shift for you at some point where you were like, I like to look pretty, I like to get my picture taken or something like that, or you even didn't, and then
Are you talking about being a pro model or being a pro model?
pro model in the kink, the kink side?
For BDSM and fetish.
Yeah.
As I say, I think I've been very lucky. I just started doing fetish modeling first freelance because it's what I loved. I wasn't intending for it to become a career. And I was a personal trainer. I was a powerlifting coach before that. That was my
Right.
main thing. But I left that job, and I did not expect to be doing fetish full time. But that's just how it happened. I had one request, two requests, another commission, more and more. So, and it just became my job. And I'm very lucky that I can do this.
Yeah.
I love it. Sometimes I even feel like, I'm having way too much fun. Why am I getting paid for this? But yeah, that's just how it did. It just fell into place. Yeah.
And then in the community, there must be, like when you interact with people and like you meet somebody at a munch or something like that, you can sort of tell if they're like a hobby, if it's a hobby for them, or if like this is more of, like their thing as part of their business, as part of their, as part of their brand and stuff like that. Do you notice that?
No, I don't.
Because like when I'm like messaging you and stuff like that, you're just very professional. Maybe
yeah.
that's just how you are. I don't know, but
I'm just trying to be nice.
yeah, just I don't know. I find people who if it's like a bigger part of their life, then they just sort of take it more seriously. Is it kind of frustrating sometimes? You go to a munch and you're like, oh, like I'm a dom, I'm a sub. I'm like, oh, really? Like, how often do you do it? I'm like, oh, once every quarter. something like that, and for you it's more of a
Yeah, for me, it's very hard for me to explain as well because it's all interlinked.
Yeah.
I'm a professional model and performer and an educator.
Yeah.
So that is what I do as a living. But the BDSM and the domination is a lifestyle. So which I do not put a price tag on.
right.
So it's all I guess it's all very interlinked because they are all components of the fetish lifestyle and the kink lifestyle and the BDSM lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe that's why you find it's very difficult to separate that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's good because, it's just more congruent, I guess. It's like you are who you are when you wake up, when you go to work, when, it's like throughout the day, you are who you are. That must be kind of refreshing. I think a lot of people, they're switching masks constantly.
Well, yes and no. I feel a lot of pressure to that, when I go out and meet people in the community because it's also partially work and also because I present myself as a performer and a model.
Yeah.
I feel some pressure to put on a nice dress and to put on my makeup, even though some days I just feel, can I just wear my flip-flops and go out and just be, and just be me? Sometimes I feel that, I feel like putting on my makeup's like putting on a mask. I do have days where I get out of bed and I'm like, oh, I really don't want to put my makeup on. Or some days I just feel I really don't want to go to the studio. I'm really not feeling this shoot, but I still have to get it done. It's work, I do have days like that as well.
Yeah. So sometimes if you're going to go to a munch, you're like, I have to act this certain way, where it's, I guess, it's who you are, but sometimes you're just not feeling it.
Yeah, sometimes you're just not feeling it, you're having a bad day, but you still show up and you still, I always feel that, okay, if I show up, at the very least, be a decent human being, be real, be genuine. If not, just don't show up. I'm that way with munches and with meeting friends and meeting people in the community. That part's not so much of a job, it's more of what I love. But I feel that, if I don't have my heart in it, if I'm feeling that I don't want to go out and interact, I just won't. I don't want to go out there and put on a fake smile because people pick up on that right away.
Yeah, they do. And do you sometimes feel like you don't, like when you go to a munch, do you have to be the dom? Is that sort of the thing? And sometimes you don't feel like being the dom?
No. Because I feel that I identify as dominant. If people ask me my orientation and dynamic, I am a femdom, but I am not your dom. So I don't expect people to call me queen or mistress or goddess or whatever honorific. If someone really insists, they can call me Miss or Miss Cobra. But if you are not my submissive, you do not owe that to me, and I don't expect you to treat me like your empress or your mistress. I'm just a peer. I'm your friend.
So you can just have a relaxed conversation with somebody.
Absolutely, yeah. And yeah, it's awesome. I don't want people to come up to me and kiss my hand and go, "Oh, mistress." I'm like, I'm not your mistress.
Right.
I'm the mistress.
Like, that's exactly what I wanted. Perfect.
No.
Thank you. Do it again. It's not work.
No, I'm mistress to my partner. But I am not mistress to the rest of the world. So even if you're submissive, treat me like a friend, treat me like a peer. I don't want to know the submissive. I want to know the man or the woman or that you are.
Yeah. This kind of brings up the because I'm kind of like a newbie to this stuff where you've got like the 24/7 people, and then you have the people who are more off and on. They're like, all right, now we're
bedroom
playing.
only. Role play only.
What is it?
Bedroom only. Role play only.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you fall? Is that a spectrum or?
I think yes, there's a spectrum, and everyone interprets that spectrum differently. I identify as 24/7 because we are mistress and slave 24/7. He does not sleep in a cage or eats out of a dog bowl. No, but because the dynamic is always switched on 24/7. So in a vanilla setting, we appear like any other regular couple. We look just like boyfriend and girlfriend or husband and wife.
Okay.
But somewhere in the back of the mind, it's always switched on. So that's why I do identify as 24/7. The role as dominant and submissive is often very clear and is ever present. We are not playing all the time, but the mindset and the mentality is there.
Does that get tiring?
No, it's I feel it's very natural, and that's just the way it works. That's the only way I know how to have a relationship.
Do you sometimes feel like I don't want to? I just want like somebody to cuddle me, and it's like like when I'm like having sex with a girl, like because that's sort of like my frame of reference, right? If there's more polarity, sexual polarity, more dominance and submission, like the sex is hotter. But then, like the next day, if you're at lunch, like I might just not want to do that. I might just want to just like just be like a normal person with the girl. And like maybe even she has more power than me in that situation where she's like, I don't fucking care, Like, so do you ever feel like that where being the boss, being the leader all the time, or like having that power, it gets tiring and you want to just let it go?
Again, that's a very difficult thing to define.
Yeah.
Yes, I guess I do get burnt out sometimes, but I think that's more in a play context. There are some nights where I'm like, I really don't want to tie you up, and I really don't want to I really don't want to be the mean dom tonight. Let's just have nice sex.
Yeah.
I do have times like that. And I also do have times where I feel I need my own space. I need to chill out for a little bit. But it's at a point where it flows so easily. And sometimes, we don't even have to be doing obviously very kinky things. We can just be doing very, just chilled out, just like we do the regular things that vanilla couples do as well. We go out for date night and we don't really think about the mistress-slave dynamic so much, but somehow it's just sort of there.
Yeah.
And I feel that, I'm very fortunate with my partners and my companions that they can pick out very quickly that, oh, okay, mistress is not feeling she's not feeling very dominant today. Maybe she would appreciate a foot rub, or maybe she'd appreciate if we go out for a movie and just have a simple night. So I'm very fortunate that my companions are very switched on to that, and they do look after me very well. And similarly, it's also I've been able to pick up where, sometimes, okay, he's not really into playing today. He's had a stress day at work. He really doesn't want to be puppy tonight. So, okay, that's fine. Maybe I offered to give him a massage, or, we switched the roles a little bit. Not literally switching the roles, but you get what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I always believe that there's no shame in serving the submissive, so-called. Like, I'm looking after my submissive. We don't break our favorite toys. We look after our favorite toys. And I think that's also an act of dominance, being able to make the call that, okay, he's not having a good night. Let him relax, let him chill out, let him have his quiet time, and then he'll come back and he'll be ready to play again.
Yeah. I guess as long as you're making the call, it's a very dominant sort of thing.
Yeah.
Even if the call is for you to do something that seems submissive, but it's still your choice.
Every relationship is different. My relationship is not the end all and be all.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just, every couple is unique. It's just the way you negotiate your relationship. Like for me personally, I feel that, yes, I'm a dominant, but I do not want to make the call on things like financial decisions, because he's the main breadwinner. So I feel that I'm not comfortable making the call on his finances. I think that's out of order.
Yeah.
So we delegate that way. Sort of, we have an agreement that, okay, he makes all the financial decisions. We talk about it, but he makes the call. And I, so in a way, I'm delegating that responsibility. And in a way, he is serving me by taking responsibility for finances. He's taking responsibility for being the main breadwinner. He's taking responsibility for making the difficult financial decisions. So that's also a way of serving me.
Yeah, I totally get that. When you frame it that way, it makes sense. It's like, I don't want to make this decision, so you make it. You do it.
You sort it out for me. I don't want to look at it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Have you had more vanilla relationships before?
If I'm honest, I've only ever had one vanilla relationship. I've been quite fortunate that way. but also because I tend to be very upfront and honest. I don't hide who I am. What you see is what you get. So from the get-go, I talk about kink and sex very easily. I've been quite fortunate to have had partners that also talk about kink and sex very easily. I had partners that were very cool about experimenting with me. I've had partners that were also very open about talking, about asking, about experimenting and trying.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I learned the most as well. Now, in fact, I learned a lot from bottoming. Now, I've had a partner that said that wanted to try being dominant, and I completely wasn't down for that. I tried, but very quickly realized, no, I hate this. So that's how you learn more about yourself as well. So, yeah, I've been very fortunate to have had that from a very young age.
Very cool. All right. So maybe like I'd be interested to hear some more specific like kinks that you have. Like the like cat thing when you were young was really interesting. Like, well, like now what's the thing where you're like, this fucking turns me on. I want to try this.
Primarily, I'm a central dominant. I do not like to give pain. I love playing with wax, with temperature, with sensations, romance, sex, stuff like that. But also, I'm very into puppy play.
Okay.
So pet play.
Yeah.
I love doing it as humiliation, and I also like doing it as role play, where this person gets into a space where he becomes my dog and genuinely enjoys being my dog.
Okay.
So
now,
there are two different
do they have
mindsets.
to dress certain ways or?
No. Most of the time, it's in the head. So for humiliation, most of the time it is it's a form of consensual non-consent.
Yeah.
So my submissive gets off on being dressed up as a dog and being laughed at or being forced to perform tricks.
Gotcha.
That he doesn't want to, but he gets off on that power exchange. He gets off on the fact that he's being forced to do something that he feels is really stupid and really humiliating.
Makes sense.
So he gets off on that.
Yeah.
And on the other end of the spectrum, I also have people that just love regressing into that animal-like state and just letting go and just being a dog for a couple of hours. Just being happy to sleep in the corner on a mat and to scratch at pillows or to, to forget, to not have to speak for a while and not have to think about the stress and worries of being a human.
Actually, now that I think about it, that sounds very relaxing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really funny as well, and I really I get off on it, not really get off sexually, but I enjoy it as a break to just have this big funny submissive that's rolling on the floor begging for belly rubs and wagging a imaginary tail. I get a big laugh off of it. He's having a great time and we're all having fun. We're having a big laugh and just having a great time.
Yeah, sounds like a good way to just like shut off your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah. That thinking thing, just let it go.
Yeah, and I think that's also why a lot of people enjoy submission so much. A lot of people see it as a release. I know it's not true for all subs, but a lot of subs come from a lot of them have like their main lives, their main careers are very stressful and they hold very dominant positions in work. So when they come home, they kind of want to leave all of that outside and they want to relinquish. They want to give up control. They don't want to make the decisions. They don't want to be the leader. So submission in a way is their way of just shutting off and unwinding. And they find that very therapeutic.
I've heard before there's something called decision-making fatigue, which is... like I first heard about it in the pickup community, but it's like if you're going out to a club to like pick up girls or something like that, and you're putting on like a mask.
Yeah.
Actually, that's persona fatigue. They have like persona and then decision. So like if you're sort of filtering yourself, and you're always like, do I do this? Do I do this? Do I do that? If you just let go of the filter and you just sort of go with the flow, it's a lot more relaxing, and you just have more resources to like be interesting or like to chat somebody up, something like that. But it's the same thing like if you're a judge, I've heard, right? So if you're making decisions all day about like parole, people who are going to like go on parole, then like before lunch, people are just like, judges are really bad at making decisions. They're just like no parole, no parole. And then they have lunch, and then it goes up where they can start to like, you know, make decisions properly again. So it's probably like that. You just sort of wear that muscle out. You're like, God, I do not want to decide on anything for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And then, but for you, you seem like you don't get that. It's like the opposite for you. You know, if you don't have the decisions, it's stressful. Like if you don't have the decision-making power.
Yeah. If I don't have control, I'm just not happy. I'm a control freak.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah. But, you know, I've also met many dominants that have very high-powered jobs in their everyday life, and they come home and they still have to maintain control and they still have to be dominant. So, you know, there's really no mold. There's no reason why a person is dominant or not. So I really can't put my finger on it.
Are there different types of subs? Like if I were going to talk about the types of girls in a massage, like there's definitely types, right? So you're a cobra, so it's like, you know, if you talk to a cobra about the types of mice, they're gonna be like, oh, those little fat mice, those are great. Those little skinny mice, I don't like those. Other people are just like, oh, they're all mice, but the cobra knows. So like the Dom looking at the subs, what are the different types of subs?
The most common stereotype, or the most when people think about a sub, they tend to think about masochists, which are people that enjoy pain, that enjoy receiving pain, and when they think of dominant, they tend to think of sadists. So that's the first type of sub. Some of them are not even really submissive. They just enjoy receiving pain as a form of release or a form of catharsis.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they're also the extreme cases of masochists that get sexually turned on by receiving pain and can orgasm from receiving pain.
Okay.
So that is one type. And
just from receiving pain?
Just from receiving pain alone. I know people that can come from having a cigar stubbed out on them, for example.
Guy or girl?
Guy.
Oh, wow, shit.
So,
because girls, it's like, oh, are they really coming? But like guys...
Men, yeah. Hands-free, just getting a cigar stubbed out on his body, he has an orgasm.
Wow.
So there are people like that. I do not understand people like that, but they exist.
Wow.
And
that's very interesting.
Yeah. And then you also have the subs that enjoy, like what we talked about earlier, puppy play or pet play, and that's all they're into. They love the role play of being an animal.
Yeah.
And they are service submissives that do not necessarily go for sexual gratification, but they just enjoy worshipping or serving a superior female.
Okay.
They love that role play of being a servant.
So you've got pain, humiliation, and then like just sort of...
Service.
Yep.
I have, in fact, met a sub in Sydney who just... All he wanted to do was give me a massage. Give me a foot rub. And that made him happy. No sexual gratification. I didn't have to touch him in any way. He just wanted to massage my feet. And that's what he's into. And then there are people also who are very central submissives who love the romance, who love pampering their goddess, pampering an empress, making her feel like $1 million. So very sensual submissives that love sensation play, temperature play, and they're not into the hard stuff. They're not into receiving pain and punishment.
Sounds like a vanilla girl.
Sorry.
Take me out for dinner.
Take me out for dinner.
Is there one type of sub that does it for you more? Or is it like what you're in the mood for?
I'm quite... Yeah, I guess more of that, what I'm in the mood for. I love obedient men.
Okay.
Brats are fun. Yeah, there are also brats that are subs that just love to make fun. They love to tease their dom and poke and make fun and, piss us off.
Yeah.
And sort of make us punish them more.
Yeah.
Because it's fun, because it's the humor.
Yeah.
So yeah, brats are fun, but I prefer to have subs that are more obedient. Like sort of, yeah, sure, you brat for a little bit, but eventually you do relinquish control.
Okay, I got you.
So
yeah.
I'm not so much into giving pain. I will give pain as part of punishment and as part of discipline because it's necessary, not because I want to do it. But yes, spare the rod, spoil the child. So I guess I tend to go for more sensual submissives subs that appreciate the romance and appreciate a more gentle form of domination. I really don't like being the cruel, mean dom.
Yeah.
It really upsets me sometimes if I have to do that. And I occasionally play with masochists because they're brilliant for target practice.
Target practice.
So I get to train and they get off. So it's a perfect arrangement. Yeah.
But not like a long-term thing. It just
Not a
wouldn't
long-term
work.
No, I don't think I could deal with that. It's just not the way I tick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit though, like spanking and stuff. Does that do it for you?
Yeah, a little bit like central spanking, like
Yeah.
teasing, a bit of bare hand spanking, like pull him over my knee and give him a couple of spanks and a bit of a caress. And bits, stuff like that, like sexy, sensual, playful, I'm very into.
But just like tie you up and just like bam, bam, just hit, something like that. Like impact play, just hardcore, not your thing.
No, not my thing. I feel that I need a bit of context. I need a bit
Yeah.
I need a reason.
Yeah.
You know, I like both. You know, I think I love humor in play, and I think it's very important. I feel that if I'm playing with someone, and we're not laughing, I think there's something wrong with the session. And the same goes with sex. If we're not laughing, we're not having a good time.
Interesting.
Something's very wrong.
I like never laugh during sex. That's really
Yeah?
interesting. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we have sex differently.
Yeah. No. I should try this. Like sometimes I do, but very infrequent. It's usually with somebody who, like a little bit better, and something like that.
Yeah, I guess also, I'm not sexual with every single submissive that comes along.
Yeah.
I'm only sexual with my, my main partner. And when I'm having sex,
Like
I
sexual,
love,
like
as intercourse.
intercourse,
or oral sex, and stuff
Gotcha.
like that, sexually intimate.
fluidy kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I tend to enjoy dirty talking very much. So I guess sometimes it's because I've said something that was a little bit too much. They start laughing, and because they're laughing, I crack up as well. And and sometimes we fool around. We're very playful. So that's what I think that's where the laughter comes from as well.
And when someone's laughing, it's a good time to dom them, right?
Yeah,
Sort of like
it's-
break it.
yeah.
It's like ha ha ha. They sort of let down their defenses, then you go for the kill, go for the throat.
Yeah, it's so
I'm talking
difficult to define. It's so difficult to define because for me, it's something that's so organic and so natural, and to have to explain it, it's very difficult to put into words.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those. Yeah. I don't know. It's like for me when I'm giving massages, sometimes I try to make the girl, like I consciously try to make the girl laugh within the first like 60 seconds of
Right.
beating her, just to like break the ice,
Yeah.
just to get that tension, get things moving a little bit.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have discovered that if I hadn't been like pro, right? Because if you're just with like a girlfriend or like a Tinder date or whatever, you're not going to discover that sort of thing is important.
Yeah.
Is there something like that you've sort of found while you're doming that like, some best practices?
For me, it's just been natural.
Yeah.
I just like, I'm not very serious all the time. I like taking the piss. I like making jokes. I mean, I love humor. So when I'm having sex or when I'm playing, I tend to like, I talk shit a lot.
Yeah.
I dirty talk, or I make fun. And sometimes, like, if I'm doing a CNC, consensual non-consent scene, he's struggling, I'm humiliating him, for example, I'm laughing at him. And sometimes he's like so, the situation is just so ridiculous that he can't help but laugh as well. Or sometimes, he's so humiliated, he's so, he's like, what else can you do? You just laugh,
I guess
And
at that
then-
point you have to go really hard, like you have to go hard dom, right?
No.
Or you have to like sort of go along with the laugh.
No, I just go. I mean, there's nothing wrong with him having a laugh as well. We're having a good time. It's not because he's laughing. It doesn't mean that I failed as a dominant. And as I say, humor to me is very important in the session. If he's not laughing, if he's not, what's the point? Why am I doing this? No.
If it's
I wanna
sort of,
have fun.
but like if it throws you off, like if the person you're with, if they laugh and you don't laugh along and you don't up the intensity, you don't up the polarity or whatever, you're just sort of in the middle and it kind of throws you off, then that's like,
No,
for me, that's no. Okay.
never happened.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen. All right.
No, it
just organically
doesn't
know
happen.
it.
Yeah, it's just you just know. Yeah.
Yeah. Like now for you for modeling, what's something that that you want to pursue? Something like maybe even on a kind of businessy way. Like what's something that you want to do with your business, with your brand, with your educating?
Oh, that's why I've moved into doing YouTube videos, and that's also why I've stepped up more into an educator role. So what can I do with just being a model? But because people now know me as a model, I can use that so-called fame to do something better. And reaching out to the community, growing the community, and counseling is something that I'm quite passionate about. So that's what I want to use my modeling for. People know me as a model, people know me as a lifestyle dom, but I also want people to see me as an educator. So if someone like me is pushing a message, it makes people, I want people to sit up and listen.
You said before that there's the battered guys in bad relationships. That's probably one of your things that you want to get the word out.
That's one of the things. And also, I want people to realize that there's a community of Kingsters out here. We're not... a lot of people assume that BDSM is abuse. A lot of people have a very wrong idea of BDSM because of the whole 50 Shades crap that's exploded, and that is absolutely not how we're like. So I want people to be aware that there's a safe way of doing this. There's a safe way to play. There's a safe way to meet people in the community. And I just want... the end goal is to create a community that's safer. Safer community, a better community for people to come out and explore.
If you could wave a magic wand, what would you do?
If I could wave the magic wand, what would I do?
As far as making the community safer?
I think we would be a lot more accepted in general society. And I feel that the kink community is very much like how the gay community used to be maybe 40 years ago, where it was stigmatized and people think that we're sick or we're perverted. But in reality, what I really feel is, from my childhood experiences and from my past relationships, I feel that there are people like us that only know how to have relationships this way.
So I first saw you on FetLife, and I looked at your profile and I was really jealous because you have way more followers than me.
No.
It's like shit. So is FetLife the best place for people to follow what you're doing?
Actually, no. I'm not very active on FetLife. I tend to lurk a lot, but I don't post a lot anymore. I'm mostly on FetLife to look for munches in the new community because I travel so much. But the best place to find me is actually on Facebook and on my website. You can find me on queencobra.asia. And you can find me Queen Cobra on Facebook as well.
Cool. And it's so queencobra.asia, it's not .com.
No, it's not .com, it's .asia.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. And so what are you doing now? Mostly modeling?
Mostly modeling, performing. Like I'm here for Kink Carnival, which is the biggest show in the Philippines of the year. So I'll be doing a performance. And I'm also teaching a workshop. I'll be teaching a sensual spanking workshop targeted mostly at beginners and vanilla couples that want to get started.
Sensual spanking?
Yeah, so it's going to be fun.
How long is it?
It's an hour long.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a model for that?
Oh, yeah.
You've got a couple butts?
Are you volunteering?
No, I'm not.
Yes, I have a submissive that's going to be my demo bunny. Yeah, so it's going to be fun.
What can you give us a sneak peek of the content? Like what's like a couple bullet points?
I love the simplicity of bare hand spanking.
Yeah.
And because this is it's a beginner's class, I don't want people to get too intimidated by the whips and paddles and all the expensive toys, and knowing that lots of couples starting out don't want to make that investment. Your BDSM toys are extremely expensive.
It's like when you bring something into the bedroom, there's just sort of this. You have to get comfortable with it yourself. So it's more of like an extension of your body. And at first it's not. You're just like, I don't know what I do with this thing.
So the easiest way for people to get started, especially if you're just experimenting, you don't know if you're actually going to like it or not, is just with your bare hand.
Yeah.
And I think there's something very fun and very sensual of like pulling your partner over your knee. So I'm mostly teaching couples how to do bare hand spanking and how to get comfortable with it, and also the 101 basics of where is safe to spank, where is safe to hit, where is not safe to hit, and the different sort of contexts of spanking.
For me, a good spank has a nice loud sound, kind of like you crack a whip.
Yeah.
It's got that nice clear sound.
Yep.
And you feel a little bit of a sting, but it's not like a thud. Yeah? What else?
Oh, well, I think you're going to have to come to my workshop. I'm not going to give everything out.
All right.
Now.
All right. I'm definitely coming to your workshop.
Yeah, cool. See you there.
Yeah. Okay, so Queen Cobra .asia
.asia,
or on
that's right.
Facebook, Queen
It's also Queen
Cobra.
Cobra on Facebook. The link is www.facebook.com/myasianempress.
Gotcha.
But just key in Queen Cobra into the search. You'll find me.
And you mostly tour in Asia?
Asia, yes. I've spent 4 months in London. That was a lot of fun. And I recently spent about 3 weeks in Sydney as well, doing KinkOn and doing Sexpo Sydney, which was also a lot of fun. And I'm hoping that I will see more of Europe and different parts of the world as well in future. But let's see what happens.
Thank you so much for talking. I really
Well,
appreciate it.
thank you. I hope I didn't ramble on too much.
No, you did not at all. And you look lovely.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening, and I'd like to thank my sponsors. Actually, I'm kidding, I don't have any sponsors. This is just something I do to learn more about kink, because I'm kind of a vanilla guy, actually. So I'm putting out these episodes as an excuse for me to talk to people who know about BDSM, who know about kink, and so I can learn stuff and share it with you along the way. If you think that's cool, go ahead and subscribe so you can get the next episode. So to get in on the conversation, go to FetLife, and then go to my profile, Hunk Hands. That's like a hunky guy, and then hands with an S at the end. No spaces, no underscores, just Hunk Hands. And then you're going to see a writing on the left side for this episode that you just listened to. And in there, everybody's going to be commenting and tagging friends and chatting about this episode. So if you want to get involved, go there and make your voice heard. And thanks very much to I Hate This Place for the show music. See you next week.